Hello everybody, this is Stranger Danger, Big Moose, or Gregory Corwin. I live in Newfoundland, Canada. This is my first ever commentary, and I feel a little bit weird doing it, but we're gonna roll, and we're gonna see what we can do. So I got some gameplay here. It's from a soft free game called Aim Labs. Aim Lab. Basically, it's a game that's there to help improve your aim. It's pretty fantastic in my opinion. And I've been doing it for a while. This is my second week on PC, so I've been playing it. So what I want to talk today about is I wanted to talk about Fault. For all my friends out there, they know I literally bought a PC for Fault. No bullshit. I swear I did. I literally was a console player for over a decade, and then this Fault game got announced. Literally got announced. Had a pre-alpha, and I decided it's time to get a PC. So here we are. It's time to look at the journey of Fault. And what is Fault? Well, first you have to start with Paladins. I just said Paladins. Sorry. Paragon. What is Paragon exactly? Hang on one second. I'm making some weird noises in the video. Okay, so that's me testing out the mic. Yeah, I couldn't get the mic to work, so just a clip of me freaking out.
I can't believe you're working.
Anywho, so now back to the idea. So Paragon. It was a game created by Epic Games. It came out... When did it come out? 2017, I do believe. I could be wrong.
But
So it came out. It's basically a MOBA. So what was happening is League of Legends. Everyone knows what League of Legends is in Dota 2. So Epic Games said, okay, so it's time for us to make a MOBA as well. And on top of that, Blizzard just announced Overwatch, and that was their take on the MOBA. So now we got all the huge major companies trying to make MOBAs, right? They're all very different now. Besides maybe Dota 2 and League of Legends are the only two that are sort of similar. So they all wanted their crack at it to try to get a piece of it. They didn't want to just let Riot Games have a monopoly over the MOBA platform. So I got Paragon. That was their take of it. Paragon is like a 3-lane MOBA, but instead of being top-down, it's in third person. So you're actually playing a third-person shooter, or third-person melee, because there is melee characters. But in all reality, it's a MOBA. And the thing that I loved about it is, number one, there ain't a game out there that had better graphics to this day. And I played Final Fantasy 15, yes I did. So there's that. Unreal Engine 4, of course, it's created by Epic. You know what I mean? Epic, they're a good company. So you had this MOBA, and then you had where am I going with this? Yeah, so you had this MOBA, and it didn't kick off. It had this map that was absolutely massive. When I mean like literally 3 times bigger than the League of Legends map. You know what I mean? So they actually had this mode where when you were out of combat you used to sprint. But then people loved that, but the game wasn't getting any bigger. Epic Games couldn't monetize it the way they wished. So that happened. So they changed the map from Legacy to Monolith. Monolith is half the size of Legacy. They took out the auto, and they added the Raptors. Raptors are pretty fantastic. Raptors actually might have been Legacy, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I didn't play much of Legacy. I played one game of Legacy, said this game is ass, never played it again for a year, came back, and it's my favorite game of all time. So anywho, so we got this Paragon. So you got Paragon. Didn't have a big viewer base. Didn't even know what it was for a local friend of mine named Stephen Reed. Shout out to Stephen Reed. He's fantastic. And his brother, of course, Chandler Reed. He's even better. So you got this Paragon game. And they come out with these characters. And these characters seem like, to be honest, they're straight rip-offs out of League of Legends. But at the same time, they're very unique. So the thing that was different about Paragon, besides the third-person shooter, is there's different elevations to the map. So there's actually like stairs. So you could be shooting down at someone, you could be shooting up at someone. So there's a character, for example, named Decker that I loved, and she was a support. Uh, she had this jumping ability. So at one point in Monolith, whenever I was getting stuck, whenever I had to run away because we were getting smoked for a second, there would be this little ledge, and for some reason her jump was just uh, tall enough for us to jump over this ledge. So I used to get the whole team chasing me sometimes, and I would jump over this ledge, and I'm gone. There's no catching me now. That's it, I'm gone. So that's what I. So there's that. So elevation, it really did play a big part in the game. Uh, and then you had Epic. The studio at Epic, I don't know exactly what studio it was. I think it was at the Epic Games headquarters, but I'm not entirely sure. They loved this game, right? So they had something like 300 developers working on it. You know how League of Legends says once a month they're putting out a new character. They were determined to do 3 weeks, so to do better, right? So now this is what you got to think about it. They had a smaller map, which gave you more action than League ever does, because it kind of had that battle arena effect. You know, like it really felt like you were in the pits. You were in the pits. Straight at Vimy Ridge sometimes. So you got these good graphics. You got this elevation. And you got this third person shooter. And you got this third person compared to top down. So you got all this stuff that makes it different. And then on top of that, they had what was called a card system. So it's similar to the item shop, but the difference is that you actually built decks for your characters. So, and one thing I do gotta mention is it was a bitch to try to get the early game cards that made the characters good early game. It was a grind, and I mean it was stupid. It was a stupid grind. But anywho, so they built these decks, and they just worked, and the decks were super unique. So like there was some stuff, of course, you know, like once you started to play the game, you learn that you gotta have certain cards in your deck, or you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage, no matter what anyone says. But there was a lot of cards that were super unique to the characters. So if you were a tank, for example, you were only allowed to touch green cards. Could be your thing. So your affinity could be in jungle and damage. So right, so you could only, and damage was red, so you could only touch those cards. Plus there's neutral cards, of course. And they all had different effects. So because of that, the characters were very unique in that manner, which is kind of fantastic. So depending on your comp, I would have decks built. So the thing I loved about it is you had to think. It was like you had to be proactive. You literally, before you even got in the match, you had to know how to counter certain comps. You had to know how to dominate with certain cards. Like you had to know when to choose a card, when not to. It was just fantastic. I hope one day I can get some gameplay. So anywho, Paragon, it was fantastic. It started to get good. The community was kind of, they weren't toxic, but they were kind of like the Call of Duty community, always saying the game shit, but still playing it a little bit. There was a bit of that going on with Paragon. And so we had community forums. They were great. They used to do like a community cast, everything. We all wanted all this stuff. And then it started to get something. I remember reading it had 500,000 concurrent players per week, which is absolutely fantastic for the game that was still considered a beta at the time. And then the guy that thought of Paragon, the guy that said, "Hey, I got an idea." The lead developer or director, whatever his official title was, he up and quit Epic Games. And you know, the whole Paragon's community is like, "What's going on?" Well, to be honest, we'll never know. What we do know is that there's an update that came out right a week after he quit. It was called version 42. Oh yeah, I still remember what it's called because it was that garbage. It changed the card system, got rid of it, said goodbye. Well, not really. We still had cards, but you couldn't build decks no more. No, that's also not true. You could build decks, but the cards were completely different and you could have less of them. And it was more about abilities than it was stats, which sounds amazing, theoretically, but it wasn't. It was garbage. And the whole point of it is what they said they wanted to do, is they really wanted it to be so that any character could be played in any lane. I think that defeats the purpose of a MOBA. You know, like you can't be playing Big Body Richter, which is support, as an ADC. But lo and behold, you could with this new update. It might not be a good idea, but you could. And people didn't like that. Plus, they introduced these gems. So the gems are just garbage. Like, I don't even know how to say it. Basically, you had like all these gems you could choose from. You know, like jungle, damage, blah blah blah, all that stuff again. But you couldn't max out any of them, or I think you could. You can max out one, but you would never be able to max out the other, which is fine. Makes sense, but you couldn't even get relatively close. And the gems felt like they were useless, and they were a bit out of space. I don't know how else to put it. They just felt like they... Either way, let's just put it this way. The game went from 500,000 concurrent players. Literally, they had an article put out saying this, to less than 100,000 the week after this update. And then, just as you would think, it was something like 2 weeks later, Fortnite got announced. And you could play the beta. And I remember playing the beta. It was trash. But you gotta give it to Epic. They made Fortnite into some monetizing. So what ended up happening after that, apparently, is the CSO, so the Chief Strategy Officer, I think that's what it is, decided to say, if you can't monetize the game, we're shutting it down. You got 3 months. There you go. 3 months passed. Bang. They couldn't meet Epic standards for what Epic got greedy. They said, look, we have 300 developers. 200 of them are working on Paragon right now. Only 100 on Fortnite. Fortnite's going to be huge. We just know it. So they took them, brought them over to Fortnite, and when that happened, that was it. That was the end of Paragon, right? It wasn't even announced, but they these 3 week coming up with a character every 3 weeks, that just stopped happening. Coming up with these community casts stopped happening. Everything stopped happening, right? And then the inevitable happened. They declared that the end of the game was coming. They're shutting down the servers and all that. So where does this bring us to Fault? Fault is made by a company called Strange Matter Studios. You probably never heard of them because I didn't either until I heard of Fault. They're a Canadian-based company. I'm a Canadian, thank you very much. I gotta always rep my Canadians. And basically, they were fans of Paragon. They loved the game so much that these people got together and said, we're gonna remake it. But we're gonna call it Fault. So that's essentially what they're doing. Now they are changing some stuff up. They came up with their own kind of card system, which is fantastic. That's very unique and will bring a new flavor to the game. Right now, they're just remaking characters. We should also mention that Epic, when they closed Paragon, they released all the assets to make these characters, so you can legally do this and all that stuff. It's like Epic wanted another company to make it, is what it seemed. It was like their way of saying sorry to the community of Paragon. So they're doing this, and instead of it being a monolith map, they're making a unique map that they call somewhere in between Monolith and Legacy. And I've been watching some gameplay, and it does look like that. The game doesn't look AAA yet, unfortunately. It doesn't have the AAA feel, to where Paragon absolutely had that AAA feel. But that is Fault. It is a game, it is considered in pre-alpha, and play it February 29th. For the alpha weekend. I'm hoping I can get some gameplay for you guys. This is my first commentary, so don't be too harsh on me. I know it's not going to be the best, but I promise I'll get better. And thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. and I'll see ya. I'll see you on the Fault servers. Thank you. Bye bye now.